Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. You've loved our next guest in Everybody Wants Some, Ingrid Goes West, Black Mirror, and 22 Jump Street. And now you can see Wyatt Russell in the surreal new comedy Lodge 49 on AMC. In it, Russell plays Dud, a man who, on the surface, is exactly that, but underneath, may be stumbling into some life-changing California mysticism when he embarks on a spiritual journey with the fraternal group Lodge 49. Let's take a look.
As above, so below.
I feel like the Lodge is waking up.
Well, I can't tell you that.
I can't really go into specifics right now because it's just too complex.
Wyatt Russell, everybody. My bad. We were literally just complimenting your co-stars on the show, and we couldn't stop talking about them, and then our show started.
They're all perfect.
They're all great. My first question for this, and I want to get into some of the nitty-gritty of the show and your character and everything, but what is it like to take on a show like this with a first-time showrunner who's a novelist, who's never really worked in television before, and also at the same time be doing a show that I think requires an incredible amount of trust on the part of the show, between you and the showrunner as well, because it doesn't operate like a normal television narrative in a lot of ways.
Right, yeah. I think all of the things that you said are exactly the reason what excited me about working with Jim. I read the script a long time ago, like way before it was even going to be a show, or it was greenlit to be a show. And when I read it, I immediately said, I have to meet the guy who wrote it, because his sensibility is so different from what you would normally see in a pilot script, but it's together. It tracks. So when I met him, he had been paired with the showrunner of Pushing Daisies. He'd ran The Office forever. Or he was a producer on The Office. I'm not exactly sure what he did in The Office, Peter Ocko. But he was involved in a lot of high-level TV, and they had like a perfect marriage. So I think that they were learning a lot from each other in the time that we hadn't done anything. And when they met me, I thought that I could bring to them what they were looking for. And the way that they saw the world, saw the show, saw the tone, and saw what it was I'd never read anything like it. I'd never seen anything like it on TV. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to pull something off or be a part of pulling something off, this is what I want to do. It's special to me. It's not going to be for everybody. But the people that it resonates with, I think it'll resonate with strongly, because Jim had no prior conception to what a show is supposed to be. He had no prior conception as to what I'm supposed to be like on set. And it was the best experience for that reason, because I'd go to work every day and not one person on that set had any idea of like, well, if this doesn't happen, then my life's not going to go forward, or I'll never work in TV again, or I'll never work in film. And none of those insecurities were involved in the making of, which is sort of rare. Everybody has aspirations. And then if you don't meet the goals that you set out for yourself, that I'm not going to make it, and then I'm never going to do it again, those insecurities can flow into doing the show. That never happened because Jim was like, this is gravy. I never thought I'd be able to do this, and how great.
I'm a novelist, and they've given me a TV show. I'll go back to writing novels.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
make the best thing that we can make.
Exactly.
What I love about the show is that, I mentioned in my little intro spiritualism and mysticism, but the show is really about how the mundane slides into the absurd and slides into the spiritual and can slide into the tragic. You're constantly operating on these levels of like, these are very mundane moments in people's lives that suddenly turn on a dime into something much weirder and more surreal.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. You hit it on the head, and I hope people get that when they're watching it, because in life we just live a series of moments, and there's series of insecure moments, and it's how we deal with those insecurities. We're not secure in every. I think I'm super secure coming up here and being on TV. No, but you deal with it the way that you've been taught, and the way you've learned, and the way you're doing it before, and those are all experiences that add up. And
what people don't understand is that you're probably more insecure because you're up here talking about being on TV, and talking in front of people.
Yeah, exactly. And we live life with those thoughts in our heads all the time. And the only way we can get through those moments, no matter where you are or what you're doing in life, is to look at what you're doing and say, well, why is this worth it? Or what's magical about this moment? Or how can I look at things? And you can look at things in a way where you can look at this floor, for instance, and you can say, well, it was just a thing. I take it for granted and I walk on it and whatever. But really, this floor used to be like a tree somewhere. And some guy somewhere along the way, or some girl somewhere along the way said, I want a floor that looks like it has a gray tint and whatever. Well, I know how to do that. And it takes an amazing amount of manpower and magic to make that happen. You can look at life that way and see the magic in life that way, or you can choose to not. And in our show, I think the tone of it is trying to choose to look at life and those mundane moments as magical moments, and not take those things for granted. I think that's what makes it sort of special in the tone.
Now, when you talk, you're working on the show there's 10 episodes right in the first season. You guys are done shooting it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long ago but like you're writing it while you're shooting it, or was it all written before you?
All written.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all very planned out.
So that's much different than being on set with
Yeah.
like a first-time showrunner and getting new scripts per episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You sort of had a very clear idea going into the first day of shooting where the show was going, and you could have conversations about it.
Yes, absolutely. It's a planned out process. It seems like it might be kind of winging it at times, or it seems like but that's all part of the plan. And Jim is very specific tonally. It's not specific to words, right? The words are just really good, so you never feel like you have to improv anything else. Sometimes little things here and there that make something work, or a transition, or something that comes up in your head, but mostly not. You even have David Pasquesi, who's a master of improv, and we weren't improving a ton because you didn't need to. You didn't have to do any of it, and it was all there, and it's all part of the story. It's all part of the process of telling the story, and it was fun to be able to read a script where you're like, wow, every time I get to say something, I really like what I'm saying, and I really like what the other characters are saying. So we didn't do a ton of that. It was all very planned and done already, which I guess is rare.
When you said that you read the pilot, you said that it was a very different voice, but also one that clearly everything tracked.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what exactly that means, and how often you see something where there's voice, but things don't track very well, or things track very easily, but there's nothing very original to it?
Right. That's a really good point, and I don't know if I can answer very as well as maybe Jim could. But when I read something, I like to know that the person who wrote it, or the person who's going to end up doing it, understands what they wrote, or at least lines up with my understanding of it, or can shift my understanding of it slightly to what they meant by it.
Right, they can explain it.
They can explain it.
They're not going to answer a question where you go, why does my character do this? They're not going to go, because he does.
Right, never. Yeah, right, exactly. Well, I don't know, because it was cool. Sometimes that's an answer, and that can be a good answer. But
because he's just crazy. That's just what he does. He's just crazy.
Right.
Why is he crazy? He's just crazy.
Yes, it is. I don't know. So you can, but that can be that can be a fine answer if that is in fact his answer, and that is the reason you're doing. I don't know, but with Jim, I wanted to know that it tracked, and what I mean by that is that it's a very specific universe that he's set up, and it was a very specific fable that he set up with a lot of specific characters, and if he truly. And I heard, and he could make me understand more of what the characters did, and where they were going. Then I knew the fable that I was going to be involved in jumping in was going to be one that I'd want to watch. I could watch endlessly because I want to live in that world. And inside of Jim's mind is a lot of this magical place of Long Beach that he has a very soft spot on his heart for, that's filled with these industrial buildings. You drive by, and I didn't live in Long Beach. I played hockey there every year, every day of my life for, I don't know, 7 years. And you drive by these like buildings, and there's nothing. I mean, they're just like weird buildings you'd never see in the industrial places that like they make, carpet, or they make, I don't know, whatever they make. And then you walk in, and it's like, it's amazing what they do in there. It's incredible, the machines that have been invented to create like a carpet. And so that's what Jim he loved that, and he loved the tradespeople. He was a plumbing salesman. Jim was the writer of this show was a plumbing salesman for, I don't know how long, but until he was about 31. And
character in the show is a plumbing salesman as well, yeah.
And so he took a lot from his life, right? There's a lot in there that's from Jim's life. And he finds magic in those tradesman jobs, carpenters, plumbers, all of that, all of those trades jobs, like they can be magical, and we find magic in everyday life, and that in Jim's mind tracked with where the story was going. And I could see it in the person who was sitting next to me and sitting across from me, that this guy absolutely has lived this experience. And now he's turning it into a magical fable in the land of Long Beach.
Now, I've read some reviews who've already compared your character, or at least referenced Lebowski with your character.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of that?
I think I can't tell whether they're being nice or whether it's like a chide remark. I don't know.
My own
I don't
opinions
care.
about it, but I'm curious what you think.
It's a great movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, like it is a lot of people's. But we were really careful to make you understand that past the shorts, the sandals, the t-shirt, long hair, and facial hair, that it wasn't the dude. I think people have been looking for something like the dude for a long time, because I think people want the nostalgic feeling to bring them back to that time with how they were feeling in the movies at that time in their life. And I think that imagery-wise, Dud does that, because I look like him. I was born with eyes that went like that, and I look like Jeff Bridges more than I've joked about looking like my dad. And so that's just the way it is. But for the character, I thought that this was important. This is the way the character was explained. Beyond that, he doesn't have any of the qualities of the dude. He hasn't. He's not necessarily a person who's given up on anything.
No, he's a searcher.
He's a searcher, actively searching. He doesn't smoke weed. You'll never see him. He drinks, but he does not smoke weed, because that would ruin what we're watching. There's magic in everyday life. There's not magic in getting high. You go get high, and yeah, sure, there's magic everywhere. It's like the best thing about getting high. But like when you're not, that's when you have to find the special moment. Is when you're not, when you don't have substance in you, and so a lot of those characteristics of the dude. He has his own. It's a different universe. It's his own. He has his own Zen universe, and Dud has his own. I
don't think Dud particularly lives a Zen.
Neither do
life.
I.
I don't think he's like the dude is a Zen, a joke about Zen, and sure, he's maybe that, but I don't think Dud is living a Zen life at all.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that he's finding his way inside of a very non-Zen-like universe. And he doesn't. I don't think he even knows the calm and the peace that he holds in him yet. And I think that's the journey. And the dude has already been on this journey. I don't know, but comparing the two won't do you any good, because the actual shows, the tone, everything. There's not very much that's similar about it to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, when I saw it written up, I was kind of like, that's such a cheap and easy reference.
It's cheap and easy.
Yeah,
I find it cheap and easy because there was nothing in me that ever tried. I don't think that I ever tried. I would never even thought about like, trying to do the dude. That's an insane thing to think. Why would you do that? That's a stupid thing to think. But the clothes, okay.
But those are not particular to the dude. That's very particular to Long Beach and that area of the
There's
country.
a reason why he wore those clothes. That was because they're particular to the. Anyway, I think it's flattering in one sense where it's like, thank you for putting me in the same sentence, and putting the characters in the same sentence. But I don't think it deserves to be in the same sentence, and I don't think it really should be in the same sentence in the sense that they're not really that similar.
Talk about your co-stars in the show, because you mentioned one guy who's a famous improviser, but the show is loaded with incredible actors who are doing great work.
It's such a awesome thing to be able to go to work every day, and no matter what work you do, if you're a lawyer or you're a journalist or anything, I don't care what you are, to go and have people that surround you that you go are better than me. That's I'm a big Allman Brothers fan, and the way Dwayne Allman said he started the Allman Brothers was, well, I went around and looked for better players than me. That seemed like a good way to start a band. Everybody has to be better than me. And I didn't start anything, but when you're looking around and you think, wow, I think everybody's better than me. That's a pretty good way to be in a show. I think it
makes
feels
you better.
good. And it
you
makes
go
you
into
better.
every scene being like, how can I impress this person that I think is better than me?
Totally. How can I just be? I can just listen to that. I can just listen to Linda Emmon, who's been on Broadway, and she's a legend. I mean, she's unbelievably great. You can sit and just listen to her. You could just literally listen, as long as you know your lines, and you just listen to her talk. All you got to do is respond to her. You don't even have to do anything. And Brent Jennings, who is in a couple, like, I love the movie Life. Have you ever seen Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
Okay, so Brent is the gun line guy. Right. Tell him about the gun line, boss. And Brent's like, he's like one of the great character actors, but he's sort of blends into roles here and there, and he's finally got this opportunity to showcase himself as the person that he is, and it's so awesome to watch him work every day, because he brings so much to the character in terms of just the layers and what he's known to do and what he's been able to do in his career, and watching him, learning from him, talking to him. I love Brent so much, and I'm lucky to spend a lot of time working with him in the show.
Most of your scenes, I mean, you have scenes with everybody, really, but most of your scenes are with you and one of these two people that are on the poster here.
And Sonia, who plays my sister Liz, is, I mean, she's the greatest person. Again, everybody's the greatest person in the world. I mean, you're gonna hear me say that a lot, but they are. And she's so smart, and she's so thoughtful, and she's so particular, and she's so caring, and she's so there for you when she's just present person to have on set, and so normal. And I remember when we left, so they were having a little bit difficult time finding the Liz character. And I was in London shooting a movie, and they'd gotten people from, and no one was like really getting it. They were really good actresses, but no one was like really just getting it. And so they were like, hey, there's this girl in London. Could you kind of read with her? Could you audition with her? So I was like, yeah. So I walked down to this like weird place. I had no idea where it was. It's a casting office. And I was like, okay, I don't know. Like, this is going to be someone who's like, it's going to be a British actress who's trying to whatever. And the minute she went into the character, I was like, oh my God, like, you're it. Like, yeah, do it. What do they have to, like, anything? Please, God, do it. And we walked.
What did she have? What made up the character in that moment in your mind that was different than like other actresses that you had auditioned with?
The dryness of looking at life in a way where nothing was that important. And sometimes when you get a piece of material that you think, this is really good meaty material, man, I'm going to make the most out of this. Like, ooh. You're like, you ruin it because it's there. You don't need to do anything. You just need to say it. And
well, I'm going to act this
I'm
stuff
gonna act
so
this
hard.
I'm going to act it into the ground. And you do. And it's horrible.
It's already been written into the ground. You just,
Exactly. You don't need to do anything. You can just say it. And then there's subtleties that like really good actors can do that make it subtle enough to make choices that are subtle enough so you can see what they're doing, but at the same time they're not giving anything away. And she has that in total in spades. She has that in every ounce of her body, where everything was just rolling off of her tongue. Everything was just like it was in the air, and it started to we started to have chemistry, and then we walked away, and we were walking down a super busy street in London, and we were talking, and I was like, man, I really hope you get the part because you're just cool, and I'd love to hang around you for 3.5 months. And she was like, yeah, I don't have a lot of friends who are actors, and I live in London, and she has a whole life that is not about acting. And so do I, and we really connected over that. And I just appreciate everything that she is and she does, but she's really special and an unbelievably great actress.
One of the things that she does and that her character does, without giving anything away, is that as the show progresses, you find her sort of attaching herself to really stupid ideas and moments just to simply prove something to herself.
Right.
Like it's not really about the others around her,
Right.
although it's maybe they're the ones who are the catalysts, but it's clearly there's something deep within this character who doesn't take life seriously, but still has something to prove to herself consistently in very unfocused, strange ways as they come up.
Totally. I love that you mentioned that. This is the first time we've gotten to talk about that. I love those moments more than I love any moments in anything else in the show, because that's what the show is about. Just that when she's trying to pull the couch with her teeth. Exactly. She's literally just trying to prove something. She's trying to pull herself out of a hole that she dug herself in by being a self-saboteur. So she sabotages herself every day, left, right, and center. Like everything she does is, and we all have a bit of that in us, where it's like, I'm not good enough for this, and I'm so not good enough for this.
Or I'm way too good for this. I'm going to make it worse for myself.
Right. And then, so I give myself an out so that I can escape this possibility of moving forward in life. But it scares people sometimes to succeed. And what's fun to play is that she's so that way, and Dud is so the opposite, that they could really use each other's advice to help each other forward. They just don't know it. They're both in their self-interested worlds. They can't get out of their own way. And if she could just look at the bright side a little bit and look at the stuff that isn't there, look at the magical aspects of life that aren't there. You can't see it. It's not real, but it is real. If you just imagine a little bit, doors will open. And for him, it's like, okay, the doors are opening, but in order to really get what you need, you got to look back and say, a debt is a real thing in our world, and it's crushing your sister. Right. And you need a little bit of empathy to look at her and say, okay, maybe I understand. Maybe I'll help you out. But they don't see it that way, and that's what's fun about being able to play against each other.
You said that one of the things that you liked about her was that she had a whole life outside of acting and friendships, relationships outside of acting. You said that you kind of have that as well. How hard is that to maintain when? I mean, I think the perception of being within, for lack of a better word, show business, entertainment requires an immense amount of ambition and focus to maintain a career. How do you maintain friendships and relationships outside of it?
How do you?
Don't assume I do.
No, but you know what I mean? It's like
you just do.
You just do, right? You just you just do. It's just important to. Sometimes your friends are in show business, but it's and you do connect over work and you connect over that stuff, but you just find the people that you love and the people that you care about, and you just do.
You also grew up in it though too, and then kind of went to hockey. Was that kind of a way to? Do you think in some ways to find relationships outside of where you grew up?
Yeah, definitely. Hockey was a way. Well, hockey was a way for me to learn about the real world, because you grew up in California, affluent area. Not that that isn't part of the real world, but that's just in one aspect of it. And a lot of times when you're not subject to anything else because you want to be, people want to protect you, then you don't get to see what other life is really like. And hockey, because the areas that rinks are in California specifically, it's expensive real estate. It's expensive to cool down a hockey rink. The energy is expensive, so they had to be in more low-income areas. And you saw life. That's where I spent almost every day after school. And that, again, to me was sort of like that was the magic of life, was seeing the reality of life and interacting with everybody, not just one small group of people. That's what hockey gave me. And that's why I think the life outside of acting's entertainment's a bubble. You live in your bubble. Everybody, it's your work environment. Yeah. And in a work environment, you don't always act like you would in your home environment or different environments. And so if you get too caught up in one way of doing something, it'll eventually catch up and bite you in the ass, I think. So I like to keep my private life and my home life and the things that I do for fun are pretty much have nothing to do with acting. I mean, why would they? Or film. I do a lot of on set stuff, but I don't know. It's just like you said, you just kind of do it.
Yeah, you shut it off. I mean, you don't even realize it, but you just shut stuff off because you have to.
Yeah, and also viewing it is like it's not that important. It's not. It's fun because you get to tell stories and you get to take the stage, and that's fun. And if it's good, people clap, and that's nice. And if it's bad, people don't. And then it's like whatever, and move on to the next thing. You do things that suck and aren't good. You have bad days. But at the end of the day, like sort of what the show's about a little bit is like it doesn't matter. You guys are gonna go home today and be like, no, it's cool. Like, forget about me for the rest of your life, probably, because it doesn't really matter.
That's not true. They're going to tune into Lodge 49 tonight on AMC at
That's
10.
right. Exactly. AMC, 10 p.m. after Better Call Saul on AMC. But it's true. It doesn't really. It's not. Nothing you ever do is really going to be that earth-shattering, unless you're one of the select few people that really do make a difference in the world or change the world. Usually, politicians or someone who's involved in politics. Maybe there's an entertainer, Charlie Chaplin, or maybe you're one of those people, but you're probably not. And you're probably not. So it's not that important.
Fine. You're just you're going to do your thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hopefully that the things you do resonate with some people, and it can help, and that's a nice thing to be able to do. But there's people on the street right now who are helping people who you have no idea who their names are, who are way more important than me. And that's, I guess, the thought that I walk around on thinking, because otherwise you'll think, if you think you're too important, then the problem with that is not even that it's just narcissistic. You think you're too important, then everything hurts your feelings. Where you're like, well, I'm not that important, so why is it so important that my feelings get hurt, Or if someone says something bad about you, or it's like, I don't know, whatever. It's not the end of the world.
I have to go to audience questions, but I want to ask, before I do, because our makeup artist downstairs is such a fan of these movies, what was it like for you to have played hockey and then be a part of the Goon movies?
Oh, it was cool.
Were you a fan of the first Goon before the second one?
Goon.
Considering, there's so few hockey movies, I think, ever made.
I know. I loved the first Goon, because it was so much fun. I never, again, it was like a hockey movie that gets made is pretty rare. And it was really good. It was really well done. And then being a part of the second one was fun because there was a couple things. One was I saw a couple teammates of mine that were on the team.
Oh, they were like extras in the.
They were like
that's great.
Special. They're called. I think they call them special services extras or something, that they could play hockey. They were guys that I'd played with. We were on a bus trip, and I looked over and there was this guy Dylan, and I was like, Dylan? Like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm on the team. So that was pretty cool.
Like, I play hockey. What are you doing?
Yeah,
like
right.
Acting?
Like, acting like a hockey player now. I act like a hockey player. I'm no longer one. And then every day at lunch, we played at the Barrie Colts, which is a team in the Ontario Hockey League. They let us use their rink, or I guess we rented their rink from them. And we were able to play at lunch. We would play scrimmage, shinny hockey. So everybody would get together and we'd play like a real game. And you had some players who were really good, played in the American League. Some guys played in the East Coast League. Some guys played in the Ontario Hockey League, which is very, very good hockey. So it was like sort of competitive and fun.
Did the other actors participate as well? Could the other actors play?
Yeah. Every once in a while they did, but I think not every day. George played, and I think Marc Andre played a couple times. Who plays La Flamme, but I was out there every day. I loved it. It was so much fun.
Let's get some questions from our audience. Who has a question? Right here.
Hi, how's it going? So I actually played hockey in Southern California too.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I played for LA Hockey Club and Junior Kings. So.
No way.
Yeah, did you play for the Ice
I played for the Ice Dogs. Okay. I played when they were the Ice Dogs. I played for the LA Junior Kings.
Oh, cool.
For most of my time there. Before I left, I played for the Junior Kings.
Was Constantine ever your coach?
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I played around. I played like 2000.
Oh wait, are you serious?
Yeah, 2005, 2006. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that's when
Constantine Lodnio is your hockey coach.
No, I just knew him. I was just wondering if he was your coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because we played against you guys. Like, I know it's crazy.
You played on the LA Selects?
No, I didn't play.
You played. Okay. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay, so you were a little younger than I am.
Yeah,
so we would have been 4 years apart.
Yeah.
But okay, so wait. How do you know Constantine? I know we're sorry. I don't want to take up the whole time.
This is great.
No,
crazy.
I just when you brought up the hockey, and then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot you. Yeah.
Okay, so Constantine was a very special person in my life because, so this guy, he came from, he's Ukrainian. He broke his hip because he slipped on a piece of tape, and he came to America when the wall fell. It was kind of a whole thing. And
the wall falling.
Yeah, the wall. No, yeah,
him.
But his whole story is like very long. Cut to him being. Did you ever go to Van Nuys, Iceland?
Yeah.
Okay, so that like horrible, like it's literally as big as the stage, as like the entire ice rink. And I would practice with Constantine because my dad saw him and said, like, that's the guy you need to be working with. He's the guy in Southern California who at least knows what's going on. This is early. This is like 98. 97, 98. So I was about 10, 11. And he would stand up. So you're getting screened by other players. He'd create scenarios. And no one in Southern California like really, really knew what they were doing. A couple of guys. But he was the one guy. And he would slash me. I was like 11. With the back of my stick, like, hard. And like stick me and like to get me to forget about what was going on. And I had a mom called social services, and it was my dad was like, no, this is the process. This is like hockey. This is how you have to learn. And we were in Southern California, you don't understand. But I used to go to his hockey camp. He had a hockey camp in Lake Arrowhead for 3 weeks, where 3 workouts a day. It was like a Russian gulag. But he was Constantine taught me what hard work meant.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty special guy. I remember he picked a potato once, and his dad got angry at him because they were gonna, if they catch you, they're gonna throw you in Siberia, put you in Siberia forever. He was from there, so when he'd watch us, like, I learned how to not take life for granted the first time. He's an important person in my life.
Yeah, cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
Small world,
Wow, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing, dude.
All right.
Great.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Nice
I think I have time for one more question.
Sorry.
No, that was great.
That's insane, dude. I can't. Wow. My mind is blown.
Hi. I really loved you in Ingrid Goes West.
Oh, thank you.
I was just, and like when I was thinking about this and what the show is like getting at, I feel like there's a bit of a similarity there. So could you speak about that and like how the other roles you've done throughout your career has like led you to this point?
Yeah, I think that Ingrid Goes West did have. I think that Ingrid Goes West is an interesting comparison because it has. Would you say it has similarities in tone to like the result of almost like the world that these people don't live in? you know, they live in like a complete opposite world, but still it's a very Southern California world where Ingrid was very Southern California, Venice, that like high, like Instagram curated, you know, what life is.
I don't think social media is referenced once, really.
No,
on
not
this
at
show.
all.
It specifically lives in kind of a timeless
Exact
world.
Like cell phones aren't even like really a thing in this show. Like and if they are, they're like flip phones from, you know, they're like the jitterbug. And so I think that it's interesting you say that, because I think that in certain ways they're like the Superman and like the Bizarro World Superman do each other in a weird way, where one's like you flip the world over, and you get Ingrid Goes West, and flip it back over on the what do they call it in Netflix show, the
Upside Down?
Yeah, Upside Down. Yeah. It's the upside. Yeah, it's the Upside Down. Our show Lodge is the Upside Down world of Ingrid Goes West. And then I don't know, getting to this point, I feel lucky to be able to get to it in a way that I guess I felt proud of, and I've met really great people along the way. I've been blessed with working with good directors and good actors.
Getting to this is maybe a bad phrase for it, but number one on the call sheet of a television show means that there's a lot of really good word about you in the industry, just simply in the sense of he will show up and he will work and everybody will, everybody will like him.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Maybe not. Maybe you have to be really talented to have no one like you and still work as the main guy. Yeah. Which I guess
you are talented as well.
No, I'm not saying, I didn't take it that way. I'm like, you're a shitty actor, but man, he's a nice guy. I think that it's basically you just do your best. You just literally do your best. Try to be the most honest that you can possibly be, and I don't know. Don't take it too seriously. If you get there, you get there, and I'm blessed to be able to do it. But if it goes away tomorrow, I'm very happy with what I've been able to do so far.
Coach hockey. You'll go back and coach hockey or something.
I don't know if I'd coach hockey. The parents were like a nightmare, but. I'd rather teach skiing.
Were yours like helicopter parents for you while you were doing hockey?
Oh, opposite.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Because they're very aware of the fact that if they had done anything helicoptery, that helicopter blade turns into like a buzzsaw pretty quick, and so they were really hands off, and that's part of the reason Constantine, big part of my life was here's somebody who's going to teach you in this arena what hard work means. And hard work is not what you think hard work is, 10-year-old boy from the Palisades. Hard work is this, and you're going to learn it from the guy whose dad was worried about them going to Siberia because he stole a potato. That's where you're going to learn hard work from. And that is who taught me what it was. And so I've carried that with me. Obviously, I'll never have that in me because that's something that you can only have from being Constantine. It's so funny I'm talking about Constantine right now. It's so crazy how the world works. I'm sorry. It's just like the full circledness of that moment for me is mind-blowing.
It feels like a full circle?
It feels like a part of a full circle that, it does. Because those moments in your life when you're young and you're 10 and 11 years old when you're starting to learn how to become a man, for me, was the moments of starting to learn how to become yourself and how to be comfortable with yourself, how to learn how to slough off the slings and arrows that people will shoot at you, and how to learn how to put your head down and just work hard and live within yourself. And you call back those moments all the time in your life. If they were important to you, all of those moments that where I'm duck walking up the hill for 4 miles because I cheated, and he sat me down and said, I send my kid to school every day, Masha, and I put her in front of the PlayStation, and she goes off for 3 hours of school while I go teach you hockey. And it pained him that I cheated because I was like a good student. But I cheated, and I went through this with my friend Elliot. I went through this part of the course that you could cut off 100 yards. And he found out we were doing it, And it wasn't like that he was angry. It was like a parent who's disappointed, and I never forgot that because it was so important to him that we understood what it was that he was doing for us and what it was that we were trying to do for ourselves. And he didn't say like, I was from Russia and I had nothing. Never did that. It was just, you knew it. You could see it. So recalling those moments in my life, really extremely important, and to be talking to you on stage at AOL in Time Warner Build, or wherever we are, on the AOL Build, I don't know, sorry. But be talking to you and then have that happen is...
And also, while you're talking about something that, we joked and said you get because you're a nice guy, you also get because you're a hard worker. And people say, we will put him at the front of the show and we will put him on set every day because we know that he will show up and do all of the work and be gracious
I hope
about
so.
it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's part of it. That's a big reason that hard work is an important aspect because it goes beyond. You go through a lot of times you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to do this, and you got to push through, and you push through with a smile, and it hurts. Sometimes actually doing some things can be very difficult in terms of you're doing it in very cold weather, and I've got to wear this. And you can be the person who complains about it and ruins the day for everybody, or be the person who pushes through and thinks about Constantine stealing a potato and worrying about going to Siberia. So that was. That was where who I was coached by. So it's so crazy.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Lodge 49 is on AMC, premieres tonight at 10 p.m. It's a fantastic show. As I told you, I'm about halfway through it right now. I can't wait to finish it. Everybody give a big round of applause for Wyatt Russell. Let's hear it.
Thank you.